Today, Thursday, October the 22nd, the 42nd anniversary of his papal inauguration, we celebrate the feast of Pope St. John Paul II. Nearly a year later, he would be the celebrant of Mass here at St. Matthew's Cathedral on October the 6th, 1979. This remarkable church leader is recognized not only as helping to end communist rule in his native Poland and eventually all of Eastern Europe, but is considered by some as perhaps the primary cause of the end of communism. Karol Joseph Wojtyła was born May 18th, 1920 in Vitae. His mother died when he was young, and at age 18, the family moved to Krakow. Already, he displayed a talent for learning languages. He developed interest in the stage and enrolled at the local Jagiellonian University. In September 1939, the Nazis invaded Poland. And the next year, his father also died. At the time, he was introduced to Carmelite spirituality. Then, in 1942, he entered the underground seminary, and after escaping a Nazi roundup, he hid out in the Archbishop's palace until after the defeat of the Nazis. On All Saints' Day in 1946, he was ordained. Sent to Rome for further study, in 1948, he completed a doctorate study of the Carmelite St. John of the Cross at the Dominican Angelicum University. Back in Krakow, he was popular with youth groups, and along with pastoral ministry, by 1954, at the local university, he completed his doctorate studies once again, this time on the philosopher Max Scheler, writing on phenomenological Thomism. Along with his two doctorates and regular ministry, he taught at the local seminary, and he produced literary work consisting of poems and plays. According to George Weigel, in his popular biography, Witness to Hope, here, Wojtyła almost relentlessly lays bare the dramatic tension to be found in every life, Weigel noted. By 1958, he was made auxiliary bishop of Krakow. In 1964, became archbishop, and in 1967, was made a cardinal. During this period, he was also involved with the Second Vatican Council from 1962 to 1965, assisting in preparation of the decrees on religious freedom, as well as the church in the modern world. In 1978, at the Papal Conclave, at age 58, he was elected the first non-Italian pope in 455 years. Thus began a notable 27-year reign, which reached out not only to the church, but throughout the world. One of the most traveled pontiffs, he went to 129 countries. His visits attracted vast numbers, including in 1995 at Manila, a reported 5 to 7 million, the largest crowd in Christian history. Most important were his soft power trips to his native Poland, beginning in June of 1979, which witnessed his overwhelming popularity despite the communist authorities. This included a moving visit to Auschwitz, site of the martyrdom of Father Maximilian Kolbe, and the Carmelite nun and philosopher Edith Stein, both since canonized. That 1979 fall, in October, John Paul came to the United States and spent 2 days here in Washington. This involved a welcome to the White House by President Jimmy Carter, celebration of Mass at St. Matthew's on October the 6th, as well as the next day before well over 100,000 at the National Mall. Our rector, then Father Ronald Jameson, was the assistant master of ceremonies at both Masses. I was in the seminary then and served as the crozier bearer at the Mass on the Mall. The papal crozier is referred to as a staff, so I can consider myself for a short time to have been the papal chief of staff. Right off, this philosophical pastoral pope started work on documents for the faithful, beginning within 6 months with the first of 14 encyclical letters, Redemptor Hominis, on the mystery of redemption as it affected the situation of redeemed humanity and the Church's mission in the modern world. Therein he repeated the first words of his new pontificate when he accepted the papacy with the words, quote, "With obedience and faith to Christ, my Lord, and with trust in the Mother of Christ and of the Church, in spite of the great difficulties, I accept." End of quote. These words, along with the motto he chose, Totus Tuus, translated totally yours, indicate the special devotion John Paul had to the Blessed Mother, as would be revealed in the following years. Among the other encyclicals, perhaps his most important was Evangelion Vitae, the Gospel of Life, which expressed his vision of the culture of death and a moral rationale to judge a wide range of decisions involving human life. Likewise important was his 1998 encyclical on Faith and Reason, the culmination of his philosophical and theological thinking over a lifetime. There were numerous writings on traditional positions on human sexuality, as evidenced in his Theology of the Body presentations, the Catechism, Canon Law, Social Doctrine, as indicated in his support for Jubilee 2000 on African debt relief, and many other issues which displayed a concern for international as well as spiritual issues. He was an outspoken opponent of South African apartheid. He was pro-European unity. He was against some aspects of liberation theology, very much against the mafia and the horrors of the Rwanda genocide. He was not successful in attempting to convince President George W. Bush not to invade Iraq, although earlier he had close relations with President Reagan, leading in 1984 to the establishment of diplomatic relations between the United States and the Holy See. During his 27-year leadership of the Church, John Paul received criticism from some for his conservative views on issues such as ordination of women, contraception, limited support of Vatican II, sexuality questions, the status of the founder of the Legionnaires of Christ, and AIDS. At the same time, there were schismatic problems with some traditionalists. Near the end of his leadership, he criticized U.S. bishops because of the emerging child abuse scandal. Pope John Paul stood out in efforts to improve relations with other religions and Christian denominations, notably with Judaism and the Eastern Orthodox Church. Although the effort also involved Islam, Nevertheless, the Pope was the victim of an almost successful assassination attempt by Mehmed Ali Agha in May 1981. The Pope credited Our Lady of Fatima with his recovery, and this was not the only attempt on his life which he escaped. Finally, after an extended period of increasing illness, John Paul died April 2, 2005 in the Vatican. The April 8th Requiem Mass set a record for attendance and presence of heads of state. Early on, cries rose for his early canonization, and this did occur on April the 27th, 2014, the Feast of the Divine Mercy, a celebration that he formally had instituted. Pope St. John the 23rd was canonized at the same ceremony. Universally memorialized here in the Archdiocese, we have a new seminary named in his honor, as well as the shrine dedicated to him across from the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception. Right here at the cathedral, there is this wonderful bust of remembrance. The panoply of photos in the entrance of the rectory recall the thousands that gathered outside on Rhode Island Avenue to welcome him that memorable October 6th in 1979. We look to him, this his feast day, as we bid this successor of St. Peter, who celebrated the Eucharist that day here at the cathedral, to pray for us, that we might have courage to face the many challenges of our lives, as he sought to with the intercession of the Mother of God.